Now, I tweeted out a question on Tuesday. I asked you if you would want to see Triple H have a match at WrestleMania this year. He has one every year. He's got the fancy entrance. It ends up being the longest match on the entire show. He's had the longest match on the show every year since WrestleMania 33 in Orlando against Seth Rollins. And if you go back even earlier than that, I think all but maybe one, going all the way back to 27 against The Undertaker. And a lot of those matches, to be fair, had good stories around them. And you could argue that they should have been given a lot of time. The end of an era stuff with The Undertaker, the Authority angle with Daniel Bryan to open the show at WrestleMania 30. I thought the mixed tag at 34 with him and Stephanie against Kurt Angle and Ronda Rousey was the best match on the entire show. I thought that match was excellent. Everything else has been just like, meh. That's been my attitude about Triple H matches. He never should have been Sting's opponent. That still eats at my craw. The match with Reigns at WrestleMania 32 sucked. The match with Rollins was a total snooze fest. Such a bore. But he's had some good stories. This year, there is no obvious Triple H match. There is no story. I don't think we need a Triple H match on this show. I don't care to see a Triple H match at WrestleMania. And like The Undertaker last year, who no-showed the event and did not have a match, I see no harm in Triple H missing a year. But I asked the question, and the response was overwhelming. Over 5,500 votes, more than 200 comments. I went through all of them. 22% of you said yes, you would like to see him have a WrestleMania match. 78% of you said, hell no, he should not have a WrestleMania match. So we're all in agreement on this. If there was an obvious opponent and an obvious story, then maybe... okay, possibly. I mean, again, I haven't really been impressed by his matches in a while now. But there's nothing. It would just feel like he's being shoehorned in to get the obligatory Triple H match in there and take up time on a show that, these shows get longer and longer. We don't need 35 minutes from entrance to the final bell of Triple H matches at WrestleMania. But if he was to wrestle, some of the names that you guys floated as potential opponents that would be of interest to you, the one that kept coming up the most was CM Punk. Now, that will never happen, I don't think. But yeah, there certainly would be a lot of real-life history there to draw from. I mean, they have an in-ring history as well. But that was going to be the WrestleMania match before Punk walked out of the company. And there have been a lot of things said over the years. So yes, if you draw off of their history together, that could be a very interesting match. The Rock. I said that I would have loved to have seen The Rock and Triple H at WrestleMania 32. That was the match they were going to do. Triple H has said it. That was the match that was originally scheduled for WrestleMania that year. And The Rock just couldn't do it. He made an appearance, but he couldn't... Actually, he had a match, technically. He did have a match against Eric Rowan. But, the build and the big match, he couldn't do it. So it never happened. I would not have minded to see one last Rock Triple H match. I was a big fan of their feud many years ago. Those are the two guys who really carried the company when Austin went down with a neck injury. It was The Rock, but it was also Triple H. They're both guys around the same age, kind of. I think Triple H is, Triple H is older, I believe. But, they came up around the same time. They were shooting for the same spot. There was a lot of, just a lot of competition between them. And I have no doubt in my mind that Triple H was very jealous of The Rock, might still be. He's very magnanimous towards him now when they interact on social media. I think that could have been a fun final match for them to have. Shane McMahon is another name some people mentioned. I pitched a whole idea last year after Shane McMahon came back for a WrestleMania match for control of the company. Triple H against Shane. Shane very upset that Triple H married into the family and kind of, passed him in the order of succession that he thought one day he would inherit the throne. And then here comes the King of Kings to take his crown. And he's harbored ill will towards him after all these years. And you could have had, maybe Shane is like a Vince surrogate or, something for control of the company that would get the McMahons out of there. There was an interesting story there that they could have done. And they opted not to do that. What about an NXT talent? A couple people mentioned Finn Balor. John Draper said Tony Khan. And then somebody else said Paige. That was the one that actually got a legit laugh out loud from me. in light of some of his joke recently about Paige, which Paige actually, she did an interview with Lillian Garcia. And Paige said the joke itself didn't bother her. She has a great sense of humor. She can joke about herself. But, she had just gotten over all of the hate on social media about, the videos that came out and calling her a whore and all these awful things. It finally started to die down. And she said when Triple H cracked that joke, it just started back up all over again. And she had to see counselors and therapists, and she thought about suicide. She went through a lot of stuff when those videos came out many years ago. And she had finally thought that she put it behind her. She's like, now I was down to getting maybe like 1 or 2 comments on social media about it a day. And then Triple H made that joke and it just started all over again. Her boyfriend went off on Triple H. I mean, you listen to him in the comments that he said. If Triple H was in front of him, he would have murdered him. Although I don't know what this guy looks like. Maybe Triple H would have murdered him. But anyway, somebody said, yeah, let's do Triple H against Paige. Everybody else is getting cleared, right? Edge is getting cleared. Daniel Bryan was cleared. They'll clear Paige, and she'll have a match with Triple H at WrestleMania. There you go.